Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of Drank and Champagne. I am Drank. He is Champagne. Mr. Andrew Champagne. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm hanging in there. If you've been following my Saratoga picks, you know I've been running second a lot, mostly in brutal fashion. At this point, if there's a photo at Saratoga, just assume I'm on the wrong end of it because I've lost 7 or 8 consecutive photo finishes, including one today that was pretty disgusting. I had the horse that Kendrick Carmouche intimidated in the first leg of that pick 6, or the second leg, actually. Sorry, it was the 5th race. But yeah, trying to keep my head above water there. You may notice if you're watching on YouTube that I am once again at my backup set of sorts at my dining room table. My cat is finishing up his quarantine after iodine radiation. He's still in the guest room for another day. And I got to tell you, he's pretty miserable and I can't blame him. I mean, you try quarantining for 2 weeks. We all tried doing that back in 2020 and we were all pretty pissed off. So he is not exactly the happiest of campers. So if you hear a cat crying in the background, occasionally he does that. Know that he is being loved and cared for just as much as I can possibly love and care for him during this trying time. So please don't call the cops on me, PETA.
Yeah, before, I got a bunch of stuff I actually want to talk about. Well, I guess you talked about the card today. I played a little bit, very very light, and I hit the get out in the last race. I had the
You and
exacta.
Matt DeSantis both. Good calls by you.
Yeah, I had the exacta. I had 4 horses in that race, and none of them were the 6, which was the favorite. I believed I liked the 5, and then the 8, 9, and 10. And I tried to get live in the pick 3, didn't work. Tried to get live in the double, didn't work. So I was like, well, I think the favorite's vulnerable. I played some exactas, and then I played trifectas. And I got a nice price. So I got to get out. I made a little bit of money with that exacta play. And unfortunately, man, if that trifecta would have come in, we would have been dancing. But uh, yeah, it was. I'm trying not to play too much on these weekday cards. I've not had as much time as I normally do. Oh, I don't know if it's not that I haven't had as much time, but I've had other hobbies start to occupy some of my time. Things like I've played my first round of golf in about 8 years.
Not a boy.
On Saturday, I shot a 110, and funny enough, if you didn't listen to our episode of the Get Out with Matt Carlson that I did earlier this weekend on Sunday, he I've been posting videos of my swing, and I had said, look, I'm hoping I can break 130, and he goes, no, he's like, you look like you'll shoot about 110, and I'm like, nails it. He nailed it right. I mean, he can't just handicap Hong Kong. Apparently, he can handicap people's
To be
scores. So
clear, the golf course that you played was not in Hong Kong, right?
No, it was not.
Just needed to make sure. Hi, Matt. Love you, buddy.
But yeah, that was fun. I got to catch up with an old high school friend, and he actually gave me a putter. I had told him that so I have a mallet style putter. It's a Nike putter from way back when, and I told him, I was like, I kind of want to switch to the blade putter, and he's like, basically he gave me this long story that he got this new like the mallet putter he had. He basically was either given to him or he got a really good deal. So he's like, I'll give you my old putter, and it's actually a Kirkland Costco branded putter that looks an awful like a Scotty Cameron. It definitely doesn't feel like a Scotty Cameron, but you could tell that they took some liberties with that. But so I'm gonna give that a whirl. Try and hit up the course a little bit, and then like I've been doing my board game nights, playing Magic the Gathering, stuff like that. So I just haven't been playing as much during the week. But obviously we got our live stream coming up later tonight. We'll be covering Alabama Day, their late pick five, and we'll be looking at some of the stuff action over at Woodbine for Kings Plate. So there's some good turf racing there. I told Mark, yeah, there's like three graded turf races. It looks great. He's like, one of them's a synthetic race, and then he tried to call me out on Twitter for making him handicap a graded synthetic race. So,
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't he use the phrase rubber tires?
yep, yep,
Okay.
rubber
Just needed to
tires.
make sure I saw the correct thing. Side note, by the way, having been to Woodbine, wonderful place. Shout out to our friend CJ Johnson, who was up there with a legit chance in the plate. So good luck to him. Good luck to his partners. Woodbine's a great place, run by a lot of really good people. Was fortunate to be able to go there a couple of years ago. Just fantastic people. Good place to watch races. They're restoring the EP Taylor turf course. That's going to take a little while. Once they do, though, man, that turf course, there's nothing like it anywhere.
Yeah. Um, but before we get to the pick four that we're going to handicap here for Friday's card, I did want to mention something. There was some tragic news that came out uh, last week, or maybe it's 2 weeks now at this point. It's been a while, but um, I am a big consumer of Vegas content. I listen to probably four or five Vegas podcasts. Like that when they come out, I'm basically downloading them and listening to them right away. But the podcast that kind of really got me into like listening to different Vegas stuff was this podcast called 360 Vegas. And some tragic news came out that the creator and host of the show, 360 Vegas, Mark, he took his own life, and he was always very very open with his struggles with mental health. He actually did an episode a couple months ago with Timothy Lawson of The Better Life, which is another one of the pieces of content that um, I listen to, and talking about mental health. And it kind of it was a shock to a lot of people. I unfortunately never had the chance to meet Mark. The one time that my wife and I were going to go to one of their meetups happened to be May of 2020, and for Christmas, my wife, I believe it was Christmas. It was either Christmas or maybe it was our anniversary. I don't remember, but it was one of those times. She bought tickets for an event that they host, and one of their events was a whiskey tasting, where basically everyone basically pitches in like $40, right? And you get like 20 people, and they buy $800 worth of, or however much worth of whiskey, right? So they buy some very very high end bottles, so you can kind of try a bunch of stuff, and so and they do it in like a nice little suite. And so she surprised me and bought me these tickets, and then obviously we weren't able to go because Vegas was closed by the time that meetup was going to happen. So um, I'd always told myself that I would go next year, right? And I would be like, oh, I'll do the next meetup. I'll do the next meetup, and obviously that was 2020. Now we're in 2025, and at this point, the future of those kinds of things, kind of up in the air at this point, and probably won't happen. But maybe they will. Maybe they'll continue it on in the spirit of Mark. But um, you know, just a brief I guess history of me with the podcast was I used to listen to it, and it to me always just felt like a bunch of friends sitting around talking about something they loved while having a drink. And at some point, listening to that, I'm like, you know what? We like bourbon. We like horse racing. why don't we just start doing stuff where we sit around and record while drinking and talking about horse racing? And so we did. And it was funny because I had a conversation with Timothy Lawson from the Better Life. He came on. He's a huge slots players, table game player, video poker. And so I was looking for people who create content on gambling that don't ever really talk about horse racing, or maybe only talk about horse racing around the Kentucky Derby, and just ask them, hey, why do you not, basically consume bet the horses much more? And it turns out that he actually lives by Charlestown, and when the during the pandemic, like he would just go to Charlestown and he would bet the horses, because like there was nothing else to do. He would go out, he'd fire at the horses. I mean, he was betting small. He's betting, $2 to $5 a race or whatever. And then he would go into the casino and play a little bit there. He'd come out, fire at the horses, and kind of bounce back and forth. And so we had a good conversation. But one of the things I mentioned to him was that Mark really, like his podcast was like what got me creating content. And I put a tweet out, and I even said that, without Mark, there might not be an On the Wrong Lead. I mean, maybe, we still get together and do it, but that was at least my impetus to kind of get this thing going, and start doing it, and really nudging like Caleb, Mark. Obviously, if you guys have been around long enough, Chase was one of our original members as well, the Wolf of Oaklawn, and just pushing them and like, hey, let's do this. And uh, Tim had told me, he's like, you should really tell Mark. I think he would get a kick out of it. And when I first heard the news, like I was like, man, I never even got to tell him like that I created this podcast because of him. Turns out I started going through old emails, and I did tell him at some point. So like, but all this being said, right? It's tragic. I didn't get to meet him, so obviously I'm sure this has affected other people much more than me, right? Like for me, it was just more of a shock, and like you just it just gets the wheels turning, wheels thinking, and really I think like what I've kind of taken uh, out of it all, right, is like it's okay to wait and it's okay to push things off. But like you never know, right? You never know how much time you're gonna have, how much time there is gonna be for opportunity, and now like that's just like for anything, right? It's not just someone passing away, but I mean, think about how many tracks we don't see anymore, right? Think about all this other stuff. Like I don't know, it just got me thinking more introspectively, right, about um, the time that we have, and just making sure that you take advantage of it. Take advantage of what you can when you can, because yeah, you never know when that chance is just going to be gone.
Couple of quick things. First of all, that's an absolutely beautiful tribute, and I'm very, very sorry for your loss. A couple of things immediately jump out at me based on that. And if we can take anything good out of an absolute shit situation, it's if someone needs to hear this, here you go. If you're in a place where you feel like you need help for whatever reason, get it, ask for it. It's available. There's nothing tougher, but there's nothing more rewarding than coming out the other side of whatever it is that you're dealing with. Josh, while you were going through that, I had known that the person you were talking about had passed away. I did not know the circumstances. The suicide prevention hotline number is 988. And I don't know if we can put that in the description when we put this up on YouTube, but if anybody needs that number, 988. You can call or text. You'll wind up getting pushed through to someone who is licensed, who is trained, and who knows how to deal with very sensitive situations. But again, I cannot stress this enough. Help is available to those who need it. You are not alone. It's out there. And it's one of those instances where you reach out, text somebody, call somebody, that help is available. Get it.
All right. So done with the bummer. Let's uh let's move on to this late pick four here. Oh, that's the wrong button.
I was going to
Uh
say, yeah. I mean, that's
oh,
my goodness, yeah. We're going to be looking at the late pick four for Friday, August 15th at Saratoga. 10 races, so the late pick four starts in race number 7. Does include a stakes race. Got 2 dirt, 2 turf. We finished things up with a really confusing race, and in my
mhm.
opinion, Josh, we start with a pretty confusing race. I'm just going to guess that you have a stronger opinion on this than I do, so I'm going to let you bat lead off here.
Yeah, this was a tough race, right? Looking at this field, it looks like Golden Irish, the four, is going to be your morning line favorite. Um, but I have a couple of questions with this horse, right? You look at the last figure, Timeform gave it a 103. I forgot what Buyer gave it, but I'm pretty sure Buyer gave it a pretty decent number. Um, but, I look at it and I'm just kind of like, I see it was a horse that was on the lead and kind of faded, got caught or got caught rather. Now it looks like Timeform has these as fast fractions, but it was also a sloppy track, and I don't necessarily like seeing horses that kind of run. Uh, Not necessarily. Maybe this isn't a career best race because I think the maiden claimer, the maiden breaker was pretty good, but I don't know. I think that figure might be a little suspect coming from off the slop on what we was probably going to be a fast track. Now, granted, if Matthew DeSantis says it's not going to rain and all of a sudden the heavens open up, then
Finally, people are starting to come around to my side on this. Just don't tempt fate when it comes to the weather. Don't do it. If you are in Saratoga, do not ever make a remark that it is an absolutely beautiful day. Because if you do that, all of a sudden the skies will open up and you'll wind up seeing Noah's Ark going down 4 Star Dave Way.
um, but if it does come up sloppy, I think the four is a must include. Um, I landed on two other horses. Um, the number three, Volatile Market. I think that this might be the inverse of what we saw with the four. I think this is a horse that maybe didn't run his best race due to the fact that he got a sloppy track. If you kind of look back at his first race at Ellis, which is probably his worst race he's run, he didn't really take well to the mud. I mean, he ran fine, but it wasn't really, I think, until that maiden claimer at Churchill. He got a fast track there, and he was able to kind of sit off and win. And So I'm kind of crossing the line through that slop race, and I think that this is a horse that's going to be forwardly placed, and it's probably going to be tracking the one if I had to guess. But the one was also kind of a tricky one because I feel like he was doing his best running going 7 furlongs, not 6.5. But we maybe there's not a huge difference between that distance. So, but I thought the three was poised here to kind of make a step forward here, getting the fast track again. Irad Ortiz sees fit to stay aboard here. So I thought that was a plus as well. Um, so I like the three. The second choice, the seven, Hey Cookie. I thought he was also an interesting starter here. That Monmouth race looks really good, and he kind of like just tracked the pace and was able to pounce and won by 6.5 lengths in there. What did he beat out of there? I mean, it's a Monmouth claiming race, so who knows? Coming out of Kathleen O'Connell's barn into Chad Summers' barn, but Jose Ortiz says he's fit to ride here, and Jose and Chad Summers are 2 for 2 in the last couple of months. So I thought that the fact that Jose gets aboard here also was a good sign. And then the number 8 Circuit Court is my lone B in this spot. Lightly raced horse, a horse that has improved in each start. and a horse that has run each start at three different tracks. Started off at Gulfstream, went to Backwaduct, and then finally broke its maiden at Saratoga. Um, but what was interesting to me, Andrew, is there's a Linda Rice horse in here in the 9 Always Practical that Jose Lascano has ridden before. And when you think Linda Rice, you think, well, the first guy she's going to call is going to be Jose Lascano for her kind of, her main. I would say he's her main rider for the most part. Jose Lascano gets off to get to ride this horse again, and I just think that maybe Jose, having won on this horse before, is feeling a little bit better here. And this is a kind of a race filled with horses with a bunch of starts. So lightly raced horse just broke its maiden. I think maybe looks a little bit kind of like a fresher face here in this spot, and has already won going this trip at this track. So I thought the 8 Circuit Court as my lone B presented maybe a little bit of value, but I like the 3 and the 7 as my main picks here.
So it's pretty funny because there are 9 horses in here. I'm using 6 of them. I am not using your 3. I don't think he beat anything 2 starts ago, and he lost to a couple of these last time out. Yes, in the slop, but he's going to need to improve significantly to beat not just Golden Irish, but also horse number 1, Feasible. Golden Irish is my top pick. Yes, that last race was in the slop, but I'm looking at those fractions, and by any measure, this horse went out very, very fast. You see 21 and 4 to the quarter, 45 to the half. Those figures on time form, they're completely legitimate. And Golden Irish was around at the end, got beat 3/4 of a length by a horse in Giza Louise, who got a picture perfect setup and who's a pretty nice horse in her own right. Golden Irish goes second off of a brief freshening for Tom Amos, who is, of course, a very competent trainer. This is a horse that I think is going to prove difficult to run down. And I certainly think he's going to wind or she's going to wind up turning for home in front. The question is, how hard is she going to have to work to make the lead? I am using Feasible, who I already mentioned. I would like Feasible quite a bit more, if not for the rail draw, because this is a horse that has had issues out of the gate. If you look at those last 3 trip notes, you see hustled out at the start, then sort of takes back. 2 back, brushed at the start. 3 back, bobbled at the start. In the debut, bumped at the start. I don't like horses with gait issues that break towards the rail. If you flip-flop the post positions with Feasible and horse number 9 Always Practical, Feasible may very well wind up being my top pick because she also played a part in that pace last time out. Golden Irish wound up beating her by a length that day. Like I said, I'm going 6 deep. I don't have a super strong opinion, but I'm using all 4 of the outside horses. And the one that I think offers the most value is number 6, That's Funny. You mentioned Circuit Court. I'm using that one as well. But if you like Circuit Court, don't you also have to like That's Funny based off of the May 17th race where That's Funny won and Circuit Court got beat about 2 lengths? That's Funny wants to close going 1 turn on dirt. Cross out the turf race last time out. They claimed this horse 2 starts ago. Turf is not what this horse wanted to do. Felt like it was more of an experiment than anything else. You're not going to close on the inner turf anyway, given the way that's been playing, unless you're a Chad Brown trainee. I like turf to dirt. I like route to sprint. And I think there's plenty of pace signed on. I've got 3 A's and 3 B's in here. That's Funny is my A. That's going to be a price. And if you're playing contests, I think there's some value in this one, especially with Paco Lopez hopping aboard. We don't see him riding too much. He's in town for a stakes race that we'll talk about in just a little bit. He did not have to ride here. He picks up a mount. I think that's noteworthy. I'll be using number 7, Hey Cookie. You mentioned Chad Summers. Josh, Chad Summers is having himself a heck of a meet. He sent out 5 runners. He's won with 3 of them. He's finished 3rd twice. All of a sudden, Chad Summers is sending out live runners in here. My hesitation is I generally don't like Monmouth shippers going to Saratoga unless the figures make that horse a standout, and I don't think they do in this case. I think she may be a tad over bet, but this is it's a defensive use for me. Circuit Court as well. I don't think Circuit Court beat a whole heck of a lot last time, but relative inexperience and could still be improving for Lisa Bartkowski, who took over from Phil Serpy following that one situation with Heisa. Don't read those papers. They will absolutely make your mind hurt. But Circuit Court could potentially be improving. And the 9 Always Practical, like Feasible, has had some gate issues, but gets a good post position. And I'm going to counter your point here because, yes, Jose Lezcano rides a lot for Linda Rice. But Josh, given the way Kendrick Carmouche has been riding, isn't he an upgrade?
Yeah, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking here because Kendrick Carmouche has made a point to be a bit more selective with his mounts to this point in the season. We had seen him ride 6, 7, 8 races a day, and sometimes he was on horses that didn't have much of a shot. He's had interviews where he has said he is being a lot more selective with the horses that he rides, and he's showing some really good judgment by doing that. I think Always Practical has back races that would make her a player in here. The gate issues give me some pause, but like I said, I'm going 6 deep. It's not like I've got a super strong opinion. So if they wind up finding a way to get Always Practical out of the gate and that one wins at 8-1, I'll have tickets alive. I'm 6 deep, 1, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. The 3 I'm not using are the 2, the 3, and the 5. I think Spun Size, his connections are doing a rain dance because this horse is 2 for 2 in the mud and 0 for literally everywhere else. I don't think Volatile Market beat much 2 starts ago. And if Royal Event wins, I lose, and we'll leave it at that.
All right. Let's move on to race 8. We're going to be going a mile on the inner turf. We got a claiming race here. Andrew, where did you land here?
So I've got a single, and I don't like it. If you've been following this program for any length of time, you know my mindset with short prices, not doing anything that they haven't done before, not wanting to play them. I can't get past the 5, will not be swayed though, because Brad Cox is doing this a couple of times on the Friday program, and we've seen him do this in past years, where he gets off to sort of a mess start at Saratoga. As of this recording, the past performances that I have him at 14% on the meet. He's aggressively dropping his horses. He winds up dropping this one from an optional claiming race to a 35,000 non-winners of 2 life. That is a massive drop. And this is a barn that can afford to lose horses. So it's not as big a drop for them as it would be for other barns. Their mindset is okay. This horse cost $50,000 2 years ago. She's already banked $110,000. If she wins here, she gets the winner's purse of the $50,000. We wind up getting her claim for 35. We're ultimately in, out, we're good. She's never gone 2 turns before. Big, big question mark. But I look at her 3 turf races. I see a very impressive win, albeit at Kentucky Downs. I see a late running 4th in the grade 3 matron behind Abiento, who at that point was a pretty darn good turf horse. And I see the race last time out where she had a nightmare trip. Nothing worked out for her. Nothing went right. She was still beaten just a length and a half. I do think she gets some pace in here. Erad Ortiz Jr. sees fit to ride. I don't know if she's going to be as good as she would be going shorter, but Josh, I'm looking at this field. I don't think she has to be. The only other one that I even contemplated using was the 7 Starlight Dancer, who seems to have improved over the last 3 starts since Kendrick Carmouche hopped aboard. Once again, we're talking about that guy. He ran well last time out to be second at this level. The win 2 back, though, was a state-bred maiden claimer where she didn't beat anything of substance. If Will Not Be Swayed doesn't win, I don't know who does. I'm going to single her, go deeper elsewhere, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I took a page out of your book, Andrew, and the great actor Gregory Peck, who said, "Never take a short price on a horse doing something for the first time." So, yeah, I didn't use the 5. Just Brad Cox and Irad Ortiz Jr. I believe they're like 1 for 16 or 1 for 17 at Saratoga over the last year. Um, maybe just completely snake bitten, right? Because Brad Cox and Irad are not that bad separate, So like it's just maybe it's just an anomaly, um, but I don't know. I kind of have the alarm bells going off that this is the horse that I need to fade. So I have the fade on the 5 in this spot. Um, the 7 Starlight Dancer I really do like in this spot. Um, you know, call me crazy, but I don't hate the slight cutback for this horse. Obviously, they've been running this horse mile 16th, mile and the 8th, coming to the flat mile. Although, who knows what distance they run this race at?
You said it, I didn't.
Um, but yeah, I like the 7 Starlight Dancer. I thought this is a horse that has been pretty consistent over the last couple of starts. The figures look good, kind of match what everybody except for the 5 does has run. But what I think the most is just that this is a horse that is proven routing. And so I like the 7 Starlight Dancer. I also like the 8 quite continental. Now, this is a horse coming off a very, very long layoff. Last seen at Aqueduct last October. But Linda Rice has got this horse entered here. Linda Rice has got Jose Ortiz to take the mount, and I don't think that there's very very many better on the turf than Jose Ortiz when it comes to Saratoga. So I really like Jose Ortiz on the turf. I like the fact that he gets aboard here. I gotta assume that this horse is well meant, especially off that long layoff. So I really like the 8 quite continental. And then the last horse I'm going to use is the 9 Silent Melody here for uh, Jose Abreu and Joel Rosario. And yeah, I just like the fact that this is a horse that seemed like he was kind of once again on the improve, uh, kind of slowly but surely kind of moving up. But this is also a horse that has shown some speed. And I look at this race and I see some speed. I see the 1 Flatter Fanatic, the 3 Rock Harbor, who are both going to show some speed. But Andrew, we've talked about this before. Dirt speed ain't always turf speed. And this 9 horse has got some turf speed. And we've seen how the interplays. And so I like to see Jose or Joel Rosario um, get aggressive here, and like Flavian Pratt was last time out, and get this horse forward and involved. And I don't think that this horse is going to have as much pace as maybe he had last time out. And maybe there's just a chance that the 9 can sit forward and pull off a win here. So I got the 7, 8, and 9 as my top picks. And we will try and beat this short price 5.
I really wanted to find some alternative to Will Not Be Swayed in here. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any. This is a non winners of two life claiming event. There just was not a lot in the way of appealing options. You have a lot of horses that have been at this level for quite a while. You make some decent points about Silent Melody in particular. I think she'll have a chance to run well, but she hasn't won, Josh, in a very, very, very long time. And it's not like she's been facing heavy hitters either. Starlight Dancer would not surprise me, but ultimately I decided to single, spread a little bit elsewhere.
Yep. And apologies to Jorge Abreu. I don't know why I called him Jose Abreu. As soon as I said it, I was like, Jose Abreu, that ain't right.
Jose Abreu is a
Uh,
baseball player,
yeah,
man.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, what in the world am I thinking? All right. We got the turf stakes race going 5.5 furlongs here. What is this? The Smart and Fancy? What is this?
Smart and fancy, yes, and it's a good one. This is a listed stakes race that looks a lot more like a grade 3 or a lower end grade 2. It's a good field.
Yeah. Look, my top pick is the 6 Futures now. You go back and look through um, look through a lot of the speed figures and you look through a lot of these past performances, I mean, we talk about horses that their B race might win this one. And the future is now, it kind of looks like that type of horse that the B race at least is very, very competitive in this spot. Um, Coming off a win in the Caress here, Paco Lopez rode that race at 2-1. Finished a second by a half length in the Intercontinental, and then won a Giants Causeway. So this is a horse that's been winning uh, graded races. Has got a Grade Two win, two Grade Two wins. Last year, so I just think this is the class of the field. I think that this horse has got the best speed figures, and this horse is proven at the track and distance. If I were to single a horse, this would be my single. It's a single A for me. However, I do have two other horses that I do like. The number five Twirling Queen, finished fourth by 3/4 of a length in that Caress. Jaramillo got that horse hustled out and on the lead, and unfortunately, the horse just kind of got caught. Um, Goes back to Luis Saez, and Luis Saez has been tactical with this horse when he's ridden this horse. Going back to last year, July of last year, won a 5.5 furlong stakes race for 3-year-old fillies, sitting stalking a pace and winning. You look at Del Mar, won a 5 furlong race, stalking and winning. Granted, the last two races didn't really go, I think, Luis Saez's way. Jaramillo rode for once, comes back to Luis Saez. I do think that, Twirling Queen's going to have some options on what to do here. I like the jock switch back to Luis Saez. I like the fact that he's won on this horse going this distance. So I thought the five Twirling Queen, very, very obvious B. Going to be your second choice, or third choice. So I don't think I'm necessarily sticking my neck out here. But my lone C in this is the one Gal in a Rush. Um, Irad Ortiz sees fit to ride here, and this is a horse for the Clement barn that has kind of had an interesting like last couple months. After Saratoga last year at the Intercontinental, decided to go to Woodbine and run on the synthetic. Ran on the synthetic a number of times. Ran well with won a Grade Three, got a second in a Grade Three. Then ran the True North there, going 6.5, and ran another synthetic race. But I like this horse getting back to the turf. I think this is a horse that's run some very, very nice races on the turf, in particular on the Saratoga turf. You go back to August of 23, he's got a nice win at Saratoga, as well as, like I said, that Intercontinental last year, finished fourth by 2 lengths, but, was beat by the Future is now the favorite here, and two other nice horses in Roses for Deborah and Coffee Maker. So, yeah, I think there's maybe a little bit of like a little hidden class here on this horse, a horse that has been running, I think, on uh, the wrong surface, and coming in for, I think, a barn that's starting to heat up a little bit, and gets Irad Ortiz aboard to ride this horse, and you're getting 12-1. So you're getting a little bit of a price. So I thought the one Gallon of Rush looked interesting as kind of a bit of a price play. Um, Andrew?
Yeah, Future is going to be very difficult to beat. This is a lunch pail type horse. She always seems to show up. She loves running here at Saratoga. She won the Caress last time out. Was 2-1 that day, which I thought was way too big of a price given the things that she's been able to accomplish. Paco Lopez sees fit to ride. She has tactical speed, but she doesn't necessarily need the lead in order to run well. There's a lot to like with this one. I've got a lone B, and it's a different Miguel Clement trainee. That's the 7. Don't Look Back at All. Don't Look Back at All got pretty good in the middle of last year, she won the Caress at this route of ground. She then went to Kentucky Downs, ran second in a very lucrative grade 2 race behind AG Bullet. We know how good AG Bullet is. They sent her to Keeneland. She didn't do a lot of running that day. They sent her to Aqueduct for a stakes race, and it's safe to assume something went wrong because we didn't see her for 6 months after that. She comes back in 6 months. Something probably happens again because she gets beaten 25 lengths. They bring her back at Woodbine, and I thought this was curious because the Clement barn, going to Christoph and now Miguel, they're a pretty patient operation. They're not going to rush horses back. This horse prepped on August 2nd and is going to come back in less than 2 weeks. The race at Woodbine was not bad. On figures, you see a time form number of 108, which for the first start in 3 months, that's not bad. Probably moved a little bit early beneath Eric Concel. Manny Franco gets the mount here. This is a case where I look back and I see a case of form that might be a little bit darkened by some of the recent races that she's run. I'm tossing the races 2 and 3 back completely. You see races before and after that long of a layoff. You just assume something happened on those particular occasions. She's 15 to 1 on the morning line. This is a case where I think she's going to be between 15 to 1 and 20 to 1 if everybody in this field runs. I think she should be between 8 to 1 and 10 to 1. And just on the basis of being that big of an overlay, I need to have her on the ticket. I think Future is now wins the race, to be clear. But if Don't Look Back at All wins, pays $32 at 15 to 1. This pick 4 pays $700 because of her, and I don't have her anywhere. I'm going to be ill. So I had to use the horse.
Anything else in this race?
No. So let's go to a race where I have absolutely positively no idea what I'm looking at.
That's going to be a New York bred maiden out of the Wilson chute, going a mile here. And Andrew, I asked this question during our audio test, and I asked this question during on Twitter after Mark sassed me. Would you rather handicap a race in the Wilson chute or a synthetic race?
So just to be clear, Mark Capitan sassed you. Let me show you my big shocked face. Anyway, here in race number 10, we have a maiden special weight for New York breds. I don't love picking first-time starters on top in route races because it's hard enough to win first time out. You're adding in multiple turns against experienced horses. The experience these horses have, at least on paper, is not particularly good. With that in mind, we're going to go to horse number 2, Dormello, for my top pick. It's a Bill Mott trainee making his debut. Mott did win with a first-time starter on Wednesday. Josh, that's the one I mentioned you and Matthew DeSantis both had. This is a runner bred to want to go a distance of ground by Medaglia d'Oro out of a distorted humor mare that, by the way, has already thrown 5 multiple winners. This is a very productive dam, and this horse has a couple of works that, if you dig a little, look pretty good. You see the July 28th work, 5 furlongs in a minute and 2, breezing from the gate. That's a good work. June 27th at Belmont, 5 furlongs in 59 and 4, breezing from the gate. I am not saying Dormello is a super horse. And if Dormello needs a race, I will not be surprised. But I look at this field. I see a couple of horses that have shown some ability breaking on the far outside, which in the Wilson chute is not where you want to be most of the time. I see Dormello as a couple of very sharp gate works. I think he might show some speed. And if he does, and he gets into a good position beneath Junior Alvarado, who's been riding very, very well at this meet, I think he's going to have every chance to win on debut. He is a tepid top selection for me in a race where I'm going 5 deep. Going out from the rail, I'm using number 4, Undisputed, who was third behind Iron Dome last time out. Iron Dome has since come back and beat winners. We'll talk about Kaz Oil Changer, the second place finisher from that race, in a bit. I'm using number 8, Solo Jim, even though I don't know if this horse wants to go this long. Made up a lot of ground last time out, though, and wound up running very well at a bit of a price. You're not going to get that kind of price here. 7-2 on the morning line sounds about right. Kaz Oil Changer, I would like quite a bit if he broke more inside, because you want inside speed out of the Wilson chute. He was second behind Iron Dome. Makes a lot of sense. The fifth horse that I'm going to use, though, is the 10 Montesoli. If you're watching us on YouTube, you are seeing the past performances and you are seeing a buyer of -0 in the debut. You might think I'm crazy for this, but H. James Bond first time starters generally don't win. They need a race under their belts. And this horse was never winning that particular race. After a slow break, got kept wide. Flavian Pratt saw fit to wrap up on him. I can't say I blame him for that. What you do see, though, is Jose Ortiz hopping aboard. I found that very, very curious. I see a horse going turf to dirt when this horse was not bred to run on turf. This is a son of Union Rags. And Josh, what's Union Rags like as a turf sire?
I believe when he's as soon as a Union Rags horse touches grass, their hooves start to burn.
Yeah. So that I don't think was what this horse wanted to do. I've got a hunch that they ran that horse because the horse wants distance, not necessarily because this horse wanted turf. So I'm going to give Montesoli a shot as sort of a C on this ticket, because I see 20-1 on the morning line going against a field where, to be honest, he doesn't have to be much in order to be a factor in here. It's another case where if this horse wins and I don't have him and I wind up going 3 for 4 on a ticket that pays a pretty solid amount of money, I'm going to kick myself and I need to use the horse. So I am 2, 4, 8, 9, and 10 in here. Josh, I do not feel great using horses 8, 9, and 10 in a race out of the Wilson chute. Those post positions, far from ideal, but this field is no great shakes.
Yeah, I feel like I had the same ideas as you. I just ended up on different horses. I did use Kaz Oil Changer, who is going to be breaking from the outside. Honestly, I just think the fact that Irad stays aboard for a kind of no name connections here, um, makes me think that it's a live one. Just ran into an absolute buzzsaw in Iron Dome last time out, who we already mentioned came back out to win. And ran a 108 in winning, and ran a 109 to win again next time out on time form. So maybe just a bit unlucky here, because you look at the rest of this field and you think something in the low hundreds is going to win this race probably. I think Kaz Oil Changer's definitely got that in him, and like I said, I think the fact that IRED stays aboard, makes me think that I need to use him here. Um, but my other two horses are inside drawn. My top pick is the 4 Undisputed here. Ricky Gogo Santana has been just riding a heck of a meet, and I think you kind of the last race went a mile in the eighth, maybe a little too far for him. I mean, he ran in that same kind of that same race with Undisputed and Kaz Oil Changer Iron Dome that we talked about before, but I think now he's inside drawn, right. He's in the 4 post, um, and he's going to be going the 1.5 turn mile. I think that you kind of look at the Saratoga race where he went 7 furlongs, and that's his kind of best race he's run and the best figure in the field. So maybe just the cutback is what this horse needs. I like the cutback for this horse, and that's going to be my top pick. I'm going to use the rail horse, Chris's song, um, and you know, uh, had 2 races at Aqueduct. Um, both of them were. at least coded by time form as speed favoring tracks. And, both times this horse wasn't able to get to the lead, but kind of just like ran in place in both those races. I don't, people weren't passing anywhere there. So I like this horse coming back, being drawn on the rail in the Wilson Shoot, and is a horse that has shown some speed. So I think there's a chance that maybe this horse stretching out is going to be able to get ahead, get the rail, get the lead, and we've seen that on the Wilson Shoot work a heck of a lot. So I'm going to include the one Chris's song as my other A, and those are the only three horses I'm going to use here. Um, Dormello, I was all in on using Dormello until I saw that Bill Mott is something like 0 for 49, debuting a horse greater than a mile. And I was just like, of Bill Mott's first time starter stats, like it's not going to take you a long time to find one that just makes you kind of be like, ooh, like yeah, not good with first time starters, but for anything over than like 20 or 30 on something for a trainer as prolific as Bill Mott is pretty surprising. So I couldn't use the horse because of that. If I'll ask Caleb, since he's like the Bill Mott whisperer with first time starters. Even when he's doesn't want to bet them, he does and wins BC seats. So maybe we'll have to ask him. But I'm just going to be 149 here.
I understand that. And in my instance, it's just a case of picking what I feel is the lesser of all of the evils. I don't think this field has a ton of talent signed on. I think you're going to get sort of a stagger fest late. And I think Dormello might show some speed. And if a horse like that shows some speed in a field with a bunch of horses that don't like to pass other horses, Dormello could get brave on the front end. It is a tepid top pick in a race where, as I've mentioned, I'm going five deep. It's not like I have a super strong opinion, but is it conceivable that Dormello goes out and say 24 and change, 49 to the half, and nobody catches the horse? That's my thinking. And it's just as likely that we see Kaz Oil Changer from the far outside break really well, show some speed, and prove difficult to catch. I'm using that horse as well. My thinking is I'm going narrow in legs 2 and 3, and we're going to hope that we've got enough coverage in the bookends to make this pay okay.
Anything else on this race?
No, except for the fact that 3 Wilson Shoot races in a day is too many, and we've got 3 on both Friday and Saturday. I wrote about this in Wednesday's bankroll blurb for the pink sheet. I understand why the Wilson Shoot exists. For the first half of the meet, Naira did a great job using it just the right amount. I understand why they're carding some more Wilson Shoot races because the horses that ran the first few weeks of the meet, they're not going to come back yet most of the time. So you're right, different races for different groups of horses. Give me more two-turn dirt routes, please, though. There is something to be said for starting and finishing in front of the grandstand. In fact, if you're feeling froggy, try carding a couple mile and a quarter dirt races. We've already seen the Alabama. Personal Ensign used to be running a mile and a quarter. Let's do that. Let's have some fun.
I'm a sicko, and
Yes.
I think we should card more mile and a half, mile and three quarters, and 2 mile type dirt races, because I bet you there's a lot of horses out there that just want to run. And horses like Next and some of these other horses, going way back, Rocket Tree, and we've seen some really cool horses going those marathon distances, and I felt like the marathon thing was coming back for a brief second, and it feels like it's just like disappeared all over again. So
Well, when you look at the way horses are bred to breeze an eighth of a mile at 2-year-old sales. They are not bred to go a mile and three quarters at Saratoga in races like the Birdstone. I do, however, like what Oaklawn Park does. They have that series of races where you go mile and a half, mile and three quarter, 2 miles, And it's cool to see those horses in action. It's a real rider's race too, because you've got to be very, very tactical with what you decide to do. It's cool on a lot of levels. I wish there were more longer dirt races, but that's something I've been on my soapbox about for quite a long time, and it's been made very clear that the breeding industry has decided we're going in a different direction.
Andrew, I got your ticket up on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you hit like and subscribe, hit all the buttons. Really does help us out. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, make sure you go ahead and set us up for downloads and subscribe on as many apps as possible. But Andrew, your ticket, you got 1, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 with 5, with 6, 7, with 2, 4, 8, 9, 10. That is a $30 ticket.
Shout out to the kids out there with the 6-7 reference. Don't ask me what it means. I have absolutely no idea. My wife came home one day saying all the kids were saying it. I got tasked with trying to figure out what it meant, and I think I lost brain cells. But yeah, $30 ticket, going skinny in legs 2 and 3, hoping we catch a price to make this pay.
That's why they call it the brain rot generation, Andrew. So I don't have a price on my ticket because I don't really know how this is going to end up, how we're going to end up playing this thing. But I got the 3-7 with the 8 as a B in leg 1. We got the 7-8 with the 9 as a B in leg 2. Lone A6 with the 5 as a B, the 1 as a C in leg 3, and 149 in the last. Andrew, honestly, I think there might be a couple of tickets I play where I singled the 6, and then maybe we have one where we leave the 6 off and use the 1 and 5, and maybe press my A's in the other tickets. I haven't. I got to see what the weather's like and kind of look through it. But at least
What's Matt DeSantis saying? What's he saying? If he's saying it's sunny, plan for off the turf. We have fun. Love you, Matthew.
We'll figure out how we're going to play this, but those horses are going to be on my tickets in some way, shape, or form. Andrew, what do you got going on this weekend?
So a lot of Saratoga stuff for me. You can check that out at andrewchampagne.com online, in print in the pink sheet at Saratoga Racecourse and in the greater Saratoga County area. That's where I've been concentrating a lot of my time and attention. I'm also going to be doing some writing for America's Best Racing. I'll have a preview up of the EP Taylor on Saturday at Woodbine. Woodbine took their time getting past performances out, Josh, but I believe they are finally out now. So going to be diving into that. As a reminder for Woodbine on Saturday, by the way, remember 20-cent pick fours. That doesn't work everywhere, but if there are big fields and you've got a strong opinion, it makes for some really cheap entertainment. So you're going to want to take a look at that. You're also, of course, going to want to take a look at the King's Plate. It still feels weird saying that because I grew up with the Queen's Plate for 30 some odd years, but regardless, good luck to our friend CJ Johnson and all of his partners. They've got a live one there that should take some play.
Obviously, you can check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. He is at Andrew Champagne. Check us out live Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to cover the late pick 5 on Saturday at Saratoga, as well as some of the stakes racing at Woodbine. Good luck, everybody. Let's make some money.